Oh, hello. Hello, I am Jenna and this is Gin and Tonic. And this is our Halloween special. For the Halloween special, I wanted to talk about whiskey, which is one of my most favorite things. Whiskey. You can't really talk about whiskey without talking about Scotland and Ireland. I'm not here to get into a debate about who created it first, but I'll lay down the facts for you. The first written record of this in Scotland is in 1494 with the Exchequer Rules, which was basically a royal P&L. Here you see written record of 8 balls of malt given to Friar John Core to make aquavit, which was the Latin for Uscabetha, which meant water of life in Gaelic. Uscabetha later is shortened to Usca, which in English becomes whiskey, which is where you get the word whiskey. The first written record in Ireland is in 1405 with the Annals of Clan MacNoise. And here you'll find record of the head of a clan dying from drinking too much aquavit. I thought it was important to go this far back in history because I wanted to talk about how whiskey makes it to America. And that story really starts with Scotland and Ireland. In 1644, England starts taxing malting of whiskey in both Ireland and Scotland. It was very obvious when distilleries were malting because you have to take the grains and heat them up, which creates smoke. So the Scottish responded by malting at night, which is where you get the term moonshiners from. Ireland responded by using more raw grain instead of malting their grain before they use it in the fermentation process. Either way, this tax caused a lot of distilleries to become illicit and also really encouraged the first immigration to America. There was a lot of promise of opportunity at this time. Immigration was given a really big push in Scotland after the last Jacobite Rising in 1745, where the clans were completely demolished after the Battle of Culloden. And then later on in Ireland with the potato famine. So as the Scottish and Irish migrated to America, they brought their whiskey traditions with them. They start along the coast where the American colonies are and start making a lot of rye whiskey because that's the type of grain that was thriving along the coast, especially in areas like Pennsylvania. Fast forward to the 1790s, America is a young nation and we're looking for a way to pay off the debt that we've created after the Revolutionary War. And the American government thinks it's a great idea to tax all of this whiskey. So this young nation experiences its first rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion, which lasted for 3 years from 1791 to 1794. Many people rebel here, and Washington actually has to raise the militia. But a lot of people are sick of it and they don't want to be taxed, and they move out into the territories such as Kentucky, where corn is quite prevalent. So you start to see bourbon being made. What's really sad here is rye almost becomes extinct and you don't really see a renaissance of it until the early 2000s. Today I wanted to infuse a little bit of whiskey because there's nothing that says fall to me more than whiskey, apples, and cinnamon. And I'm using this really cool tool that I got recently, which is a porthole. So a few things that are really cool about it. One is once you infuse everything into it, you can see into it. Perhaps one of the most interesting things about it, I can put a spirit into this and it's ready to drink within 2 hours. Whereas if I'm infusing it in something else, you usually leave it for a couple days. For my whiskey today, I'm using Evan Williams, which is made by the Heaven Hill Distillery. This one is 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. So it's a little bit sweeter. The higher corn percentage that you get, the sweeter the whiskey's going to be. And I know that bottles can be very confusing with whiskey because there's a lot of statements on them that you might not necessarily be familiar with. For this one in particular, it says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And all that means is that 1, it's a bourbon, so it has to be 51% corn. It also needs to be aged in new charred white oak barrels. And 2, it's Kentucky whiskey, so it has to be made in Kentucky. And it also says straight whiskey, which means that it has to be aged for a minimum of 2 years. And if it's aged for less than 4 years, it has to have an age statement on the bottle. This one doesn't have an age statement on the bottle, which means that it is at least 4 years old.